Hello everyone and welcome back to Dragalia Foundry, a fan channel where everything Dragalia Lost can be found. This video is going to contain my first ever co-op clear of Tartarus on the Legend difficulty. This fight has been out for a while now, but I was finally able to get this co-op clear over the weekend after trying for several weekends in a row. I haven't had as much time to do really high difficulty co-op content as of late, so have been trying to slowly catch up on various co-op quests. I did so with Legend Twins a while back, and that was not too bad. That took like maybe a couple hours, random team, the first people who showed up. We just went at it together and were able to get it done. Tartarus was a completely different story, as it took me multiple attempts, and the saddest part was this attempt that I'm showing before we get into the first clear, as we got this close, I think the first day that we were trying this, and then every subsequent day for a couple of weeks, we were not able to get this close at all. And finally, recently, I was able to get the clear. So I really didn't even realize that I could have used the help of Felicia there in the bubble to block some of those waves that were coming out and thereby survive. And unfortunately, all of us, I think, were just trying to spam skills, hoping we could get through Tartarus, but when that Berserk phase is active, the defense stat is sky high. You gotta break in order to deal your damage. So this was the closest I'd gotten until finally getting this first clear. We're getting into it now. This fight really daunted me. This was a more complex fight than I thought it would be mechanically going into things, and really required a lot of coordination that kind of reminded me of the old school High Dragon trials. Right off the bat, Tartarus releases an attack that deals damage and also causes Fury of the Fallen, which means that the players who are hit by those purple arrows are going to have reduced damage. So it requires a bit of coordination and strategy at the beginning of who should tank those hits, with one of the preferred players being a Gala Yuden, because at low HP he can shapeshift, and once you shapeshift, you don't get your Fury of the Fallen, it gets cleared. The other, of course, being the healer, and if you remember Tartarus from the earlier difficulties, until you go through this first portal, you're not going to be able to heal any of your teammates. So I ended up being the one to take the first portal. A big difference at the Legend difficulty compared to the earlier difficulties is all of these portals have different mechanics for the shadow clones of Tartarus. This very first one, I would say, is one of the easier ones to deal with. Tartarus will throw out 3 purple attacks, and when they hit the wall, they do AoE damage, but that AoE damage can be iframed despite the attacks appearing to be purple. Another thing to point out here is overdamage really helps. Tartarus' shadow clones have super high defense, so it sort of becomes more like a hit count check rather than a damage check when you're in those portals, since usually you're just going to be dealing 1 damage per hit. Anyway, I get out of the portal, I'm using my Overkarma skill to dispel a little bit, and probably didn't need to really dragon there, and in fact, we lost, or at least I lost, a dragon transformation that I would have gotten from the Felicia who entered that portal, because when you are in dragon form, you can't accumulate extra dragon gauge. So that was a little bit of a waste, not off to a very auspicious start, but we cleared phase 1 fast enough that we were able to potentially clear here. We know that much. And as we get some of these draconic mines, I do want to point out those do deal damage, and that can potentially kill you, but more importantly, they give you dragon gauge, and that can come in clutch and be very crucial for taking on this fight, especially in the Berserk phase where you're going to need some dragons to deal with the mortal chasers that happen. At this point, we have a second portal up, and this portal has to be cleared so that we can dispel the boss. And I really want Yuden to be able to take this because he brought Galenot's shared skill, and within that portal, you have to dispel some regen and buffs on Tartarus, and also the hit count on Galenot's skill is super good for clearing that portal fast. So Yuden went in there with that shared skill equipped, he already comes out right away, and that's going to mean we're able to start dispelling Tartarus, get rid of his defense buffs, as well as, importantly, get rid of Relentless Rage, which causes the punishment arrows phase to cause bleed. So a lot happening mechanically. Now we don't want to quite break here, we want to save break for after punishment waves. By doing that, we're going to allow ourselves to set up. So It's fine if you break there. If you're a higher powered team, that might just be what happens and you can orchestrate accordingly. But at least for the runs we had done previously, we had a plan. We knew that at the end of this phase, we wanted to be set up for break, and that meant my responsibility here was I need to get my obstruction armament as quickly as I can. It took me a little bit longer than I would have liked, but I am able to start using Circlet of Exaltation, my second skill, to pile on the damage with the Flashburn Punisher. And very quickly, I have to spam skills here or spam attack to charge my skills. I really needed to dispel all the buffs on Tartarus at that point. And you saw my teammates helping with a Ronzel shared skill coming off Felicia and that Galenot shared skill on Yuden. The reason being, Tartarus puts like 4 buffs on himself right there. And if you leave even one Relentless Rage as he begins the walking animation to the center, then those punishment arrows are going to cause bleed. And we didn't want that to happen. We made it to the Berserk phase, but this is most often where we would end up dying, and I would say this is the phase of the fight that feels most similar to a classic High Dragon trial in that there are one-shot mechanics that do punish you for making mistakes. That's something that the Agito has gotten a lot softer on, but is still alive and well in the Legend difficulty. Unfortunately, you just have to make it to this Berserk fight to actually experience it, and make it to the Berserk phase, I should say. One of those one-shot moves that had bodied our team many times in the past was that tail swipe move, so I'm trying as much as possible here to stay in front of Tartarus, and of course, when break looks close, drop that debuff zone so that I can start piling on some damage, because really outside of break, you're not doing a lot of damage. And here, I got extremely lucky. I don't know why that dive kick didn't knock me out of dragon form, but I think my timing was just very fortunate that I stayed in dragon form, because I needed that dragon form since I got the Mortal Chaser on me in order to tank it. You can also just go into that dimensional field, but that's going to prolong your Berserk phase. You can potentially lose Dragon Gauge if you get hit while you're in that thing, and it's just a riskier strategy overall. We're looking good as far as our Dragon Gauge here, with multiple of us able to summon a dragon, myself included, to then block some of these purple arrows and make it so the rest of our team doesn't get bleed. Unfortunately, one did get through to Luca, but he ends up being fine, and we're very close to another break here. Last time we got our second break, we weren't able to quite clear. You saw what happened. This time around, no holds barred, unleashing skills as much as possible, and trying for the KO. And yes, we got it. Mostly thanks to Gala Thor, in fact. So it's good to see Thor actually still have a use in this thing, and I honestly don't know if I was playing Audric correctly in Berserk phase there. Have to admit that. I am pretty new to the character, so it's hard for me to wrap my head around some of these skill chain characters. He or Rosarda just seem almost essential with how rapidly you have to dispel Tartarus, and also how helpful it can be to have Flash Burn. I was doing 4-strike spam in Berserk and saving my skills for break. Maybe he does better overdrive damage per second if you just spam the skills, spam the basic attacks. Not 100% sure on that, but would love to get more of y'all's inputs. I'm curious if any of y'all have cleared this. I think it's pretty tough. I feel like it's one of the hardest Legend fights. So let me know how it's gone for you in the comments below. That is going to do it for today's quick video. Once again, just want to say a big thank you to the players who joined me for this one. These are some of the players who helped me first clear Legend Volk back in the day just by coincidence. Super fun taking on Legend Tartarus. Once again, that's going to do it though, so thank you as always for watching. Take care, and I'll see you next time.